Daredevil's a show that's considered an absolute gem, a breath of creativity in an era that's polluted with generic superhero shows that are a dime a dozen. But the OG Daredevil made audiences fall in love with the blind lawyer crime-fighting vigilante. Literally, nothing can top this show when it comes to originality. Let's take a look at all of the moments from Daredevil that got us glued to the screen, rooting for our fave anti-hero. Starting off with number 8, the hallway fight from Season 1. This scene is what set the foundation for the future single-shot fight sequences that the show later became popular for. This scene is from the second episode of Season 1 and acts as the conclusion to the episode. In the 5-minute scene, Daredevil, Matt Murdock, fights several men at the same time in order to rescue a kidnapped child. The fight cinematography and choreography both were exceptionally brilliant, thanks to the smooth and fluid fighting style adopted by the characters present in that scene. The show tried to one-up this amazing moment from its premiere season a few times later on in the show, once in Season 2's episode New York's Finest, and again in Season 3's Blindsided. Both scenes were notably much longer and definitely much more complex. At number 7, how Matt Murdock became Daredevil. Fans are kept in the dark about Matt Murdock's hero origins. How did he become a crime-fighting vigilante? And what exactly was it that pushed him to bend? Well, take the law into his own hands. Surely, as a lawyer, he should let the system do its thing, right? All questions are answered in Season 1's 10th episode, Murdock, in which Foggy, Matt's friend, learns of his vigilante alter ego. Foggy and the audience are told that Matt Murdock took on the mantle of Daredevil after he overheard a father abusing his child, something he was able to do because of his heightened sense. He tried to convince the mother that her daughter was being abused at the hands of her husband, but she flat out refused to believe him. Matt then later on confronted the man and ultimately threatened him so that the abuse would end. And it was in this very moment that he made the most important decision of his life. He became Daredevil. Up next is number 6. Matt realizes the police is under Kingpin's control. Granted, this scene happened pretty early in the first season, and though most fans gloss over its importance, this moment from the show highlights a very dark reality that any system can be bought. Matt Murdock, a lawyer by day, visits the police precinct to listen to an interrogation of a criminal he helped catch. Once the criminal gives up Fisk's name to the detectives, Matt's relieved, but things quickly go south once it's made clear that the cops are actually dirty. This causes Matt to rethink his current strategy and come to terms with the fact that Kingpin, unfortunately, has a lot of power in the city. At number 5 is Kingpin and Daredevil's Season 3 interaction. Kingpin and Daredevil's relationship is one of the main driving forces for the show, pushing it forward to new cinematic horizons. We can all agree that the dynamic between the two foes was the best part of the show, arguably maybe even the best hero-villain relationship in all of TV show history. Okay, there may be a few other examples that are just as good, maybe. Don't sue us for having favorites, please. Jokes aside, however, fans think that the best interaction of theirs to date is the one from Season 3. A Reddit user even said that the emotional beats of the scene were brilliant, which makes it seem that the fight utilized the emotional appeal of the scene rather than the high-stakes action that would usually accompany a Kingpin and Daredevil interaction. Fans had been looking forward to the final scene between the two characters for so long, and once it finally graced their scenes, it was, without a doubt, perfect. Why? Well, Daredevil had already won the fight because he chose not to kill Kingpin, even when Fisk egged him on with chants of, "Come on, kill him." This strong nod towards Matt realigning with his faith and what makes him Daredevil is what made the moment so special for the viewers. It's one of the rawest interpretations of a comic book hero adaptation, and most definitely the best one yet. At number 4, we have Daredevil's confession. So, as previously mentioned, Matt Murdock has a strict no-killing the bad guys policy, something that stems from the fact that he's Catholic, and the idea of harming others to such an extent immediately clashes with his personal beliefs and moral compass. He's a man of his word, and his relationship with his faith as his alter ego Daredevil is a strong running theme of the show. It also gave us one of the best monologues ever written and delivered in the history of TV shows itself. We're talking about none other than the confession scene from the first season, in which Daredevil asks the priest for forgiveness for the actions that he'll carry out soon. He needs to know that he'll be pardoned for the necessary violence that he'll have to inflict to keep the city safe. But that is not what got fans glued to their screens. No, rather, it was the story before this statement that's a fan favorite. Matt Murdock speaks of his family and states that giving in to violence came easy to his father. He, however, channeled it through boxing, but in that crucial moment of fighting, he'd let the devil out, something that's confirmed by his grandmother often saying to beware of the Murdock boys because they got the devil in them. It seems that Matt's got no choice but to let the devil out himself, which is why he needs to know that he'll be forgiven in the long run. For number 3, we have Daredevil versus the Punisher. This scene serves as the defining factor of the relationship between the Punisher and Daredevil. Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, makes his first appearance in the show through this scene. And what better an entrance in a show than by debating about morality with a person who you've chained to a chimney. Oh, and also duct tape a gun to his hand, can't forget that. They essentially argue with each other about which method is better when it comes to being a vigilante, spilling blood or sparing lives. This question also creates a pinhole of light for the show's fans, who've often wondered the same thing. Is sticking to a moral code the only way to save the day? Or would it be better to actually end the villain altogether? And if so, would the lines between a hero and a villain simply become a blur? The Punisher argues that not everyone has the luxury of hiding behind a mask and living two separate lives, and that sometimes he can't distinguish between whether he's Frank Castle or still living his days as a soldier. Frank Castle is introduced as an unforgiving killer, whereas Matt Murdock's the one with a strict moral code, one he won't be breaking anytime soon. They're complete opposites, which is exactly why their interaction is such a cinematic treat for the audience. At number 2 is Kingpin and the car scene. Famously referred to as simply the car scene from the first season, this is one example of when Daredevil definitely delivered in terms of violence and ended up setting a high standard that future shows would try their best to match. Shown in the 4th episode of Season 1, Kingpin ends up killing his business partner Anatoly with nothing but a car door. We repeat, a car door. This was a moment that predicted just how willing Kingpin is to get his hands bloody in order to maintain his control, and that he's not the type of character to stay on the sidelines and order others to do the dirty work for him. Fans also noted that this scene acts as the starting point for the dominoes to ultimately fall, meaning that Kingpin causes his own eventual downfall simply by losing control of the situation and bashing as well as decapitating Anatoly's head with a car door because he embarrassed him during a date with Vanessa. RIP, Anatoly. Finally, at number 1 is the church fight. We'll be honest, this was one of the darkest scenes, thematically speaking, because it took place in a church. This also makes it one of the most conflicting fights for Daredevil to take part in, because he doesn't want to spill blood and commit any sin in a place that's holy. In this scene, Dex, aka Bullseye, enters the church wearing Daredevil's costume and ends up murdering Matt Murdock's priest, Father Lantom. Matt is enraged and seeks revenge for Father Lantom's sacrifice, but is calmed down by the words of the priest. Despite keeping his anger in control, he couldn't win the fight or his demons. And that's all for this video. Which moment do you think is the best from the original show? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you're waiting for any more news related to Daredevil or Charlie Cox, then make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.